Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Roman. I got a question from one of my subscribers, Mr. Jenny, and his question was, how did I find my musical style and what really influences me? So I thought about this for a while and I came up with 5 things that I think I can say helped me find my style and identify those influences that have shaped my musical journey. So let's get started. So number 1, don't say no to music without first listening. I know I've been guilty of this in the past where I thought I was too good for top 40 music and I would just shun a popular person simply because they were on the top 40, top 10, number 1, whatever it was. And then, a couple weeks later, I'd be listening to a radio station and a new song would come on that I hadn't heard before and kind of get that groove going, kind of digging the song and be like, what is this? And then I'd come to find out it's the group that I said I never wanted to listen to. So I think it was kind of a lesson for me that was just give every song a chance. I can think of a lot of other songs as well. And other reasons not to say no to music without listening to it is you could really be missing something. I mean, there's so many styles and genres today. I feel like the opportunity to miss something just because we wanted to be snobbery about it is kind of silly. And, I think even as we get older, I think we should always continue to listen to songs, new artists. I'll give you an example. Some people, like if the band is from 2000 on up, the band can't possibly be good. So only bands from 1960 to 2000 are good, which seems really crazy. And I think it does a lot of disservice to the musicians and the artists out there. It's kind of like saying, if you're after Picasso, no one can paint anymore. So I definitely don't subscribe to that. I definitely recommend that you listen with open ears and just give every artist a chance. I'm not saying you have to listen to every single artist, and if you don't like it, then you know to move on. Number 2, seek out old and new music. When I was younger, I grew up with country music from the 70s, and that was really all that I knew. It wasn't until the 80s when we got cable that I discovered, Prince, Michael Jackson, Run DMC, Beastie Boys, you name it, right? So I went from, Barbara Mandrell, Kenny Rogers, Statler Brothers, Oak Ridge Boys, Dolly Parton, to all of a sudden, now I'm listening to Beat Street and Grandmaster Flash and Run DMC. So the world opened up to me in a whole new way. And, I'll give you an example. We were so sheltered. Walk This Way. Right? Run DMC. I had no idea that song was originally done by Aerosmith. Didn't even know there was a band called Aerosmith because it just wasn't in the repertoire of the people that I knew. It wasn't something our parents wanted us to listen to, and it wasn't played on the radio stations that we listened to. So for us, it was a new song, and then I found out, obviously, it was a remake or a derivative work. So what I recommend to anybody that's wanting to discover new music, what I like to do is I like to pick a genre in a time frame. So I think a really interesting genre is like hip hop. If you listen to it in the 2000s and then listen to it in the 90s and then listen to it in the 80s and then listen to it in the 70s. Same thing if you do that with rock. Start working backwards, right? Like everybody thinks. For me, 90s, I like grunge, I like Pearl Jam, I like Nirvana, I like Soundgarden. When I found those bands, I then just started looking back to what their influences were. And then you start going back into the 80s, and you start going back to the 70s, and you start going back to the 60s. And then you realize that these things that you're hearing for the first time have been out there for 20, 30, 40 years. I'm just now discovering it. So I definitely recommend seeking out old and new music. And when I say new music, if you hear it for the first time, it's new music. It doesn't matter if it's 1960s or 1970s. So that's my number 2. Number 3, if you have a interest in music, I highly recommend picking up an instrument. You know, and not just one, but at least 2. Like you can't, if you play an instrument, something changes about you. And there's lots of instruments that can be played and don't take a lot of work. And it doesn't have to be something that you do all the time. Like if you committed 1 hour a week to playing guitar, you know, you eventually get good enough at it that you can strum between chord and, you know, make solid chord changes. Obviously, the more you practice, the better you get. But I think there's something with playing more than one instrument that really changes the way that you listen to music and the way that you actively listen and the way that you participate with it. Additionally, I think your appreciation goes way up for the artist. I mean, if you play guitar and you go watch a great guitarist on stage, you have an idea of what it took for them to get to be that good. It didn't just happen overnight, and it's usually a dedication to craft. And you also know that at some point, if you become really good at your instrument, you'll know when you see somebody else who's loafing and not practicing, or they just casually just pick it up every now and then. And I recommend that you just, if you're going to play an instrument, even if you don't have aspirations to be a musician on stage or to write songs, I recommend playing an instrument. It's just, there's something healing about it and something communal about it when you play instruments and other people hear you and you just have some time to just hang out and play along to some music that you like. Number 4, play with other people. One of the best experiences that I have over and over and over is when I play my guitar or my bass or my keyboard with another person. Even on my drums, even as though I'm not a very good drummer whatsoever, I can still keep a beat, and something about playing with another person just makes it magical. I mean, if you're in your teens and you decide you want to get a band together and you play together, I mean, yeah, you stink, but you stink in the most wonderful way. I mean, again, it's magical. The magic isn't about the quality of what everyone else thinks around you. It's that experience. So I definitely recommend, again, number 3, learn 1 or more instruments. And number 4, definitely play with other people. And even playing with other people can mean going out and watching bands play and getting on the front row and just experiencing what they're experiencing. So check that out. And number 5 for me was and is recording music, mixing music, and producing it. I think all the other 4 items that I've mentioned pretty much are summed up in number 5. Being surrounded by artists who enjoy creating music, even though they play differently than me, they play different instruments than me, somehow the synergies over time affect who I am. And I really don't care about genres. I love mixing songs that have strings, lots of strings, cellos, bass, violins. I really like mixing it. I'm never going to play at the quality level that I'm, for the people that are recorded that I'm mixing. But I totally enjoy it. It's like having the radio in front of me and I can shape it to what I want to hear or what the client wants to hear. So for me, that's just like the pinnacle of all of those items, and doing them and staying consistent, and now it's easier than ever to have the resources for the least amount of money to do this. And I recommend it for anybody that wants to just experience making music. It's not that much. Do it as a hobby. Just enjoy mixing in your home studio and just have a hobby. Enjoy it. I mean, again, there's memories that you can make for people that they would never be able to get it anywhere else. Just simply them going into your little studio with a microphone and recording their guitar for the first time. It's kind of magical. I mean, You know, it's a cool feeling. And just to give you an example, I started recording when I was, you know, we had tape machines. And when I say tape machines, I mean like this. We had tape machines like this growing up. Big, boxy things. Yeah, this thing weighs, it weighs about 4 pounds. It might be 5 pounds with the battery pack in there. And I would take, when we got HBO, like Sheena Easton and Billy Joel, a couple of them that I can think of. I think I did it for the Prince movie as well. We'd get an empty cassette tape, we'd hit record, and we'd put it right up to the TV speaker and sit there and record it. And I would spend weeks and months re-listening to that music because that was one of the few places that I got new music from. So the times have changed, and I think that the axioms are pretty much the same. I think you have to listen to music and a whole lot of music to really find a style and an influence. I hope that my style can continue to change and evolve, and that it's more than just me playing a guitar. So everybody out there, I appreciate all your all's time. Hopefully, if you all want to have a conversation about styles, any other ideas that you have that I may not have mentioned and you'd like me to know, leave them below in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I think that covers it. So again, thank you, Mr. Jenny, for the question. I look forward to more questions and video ideas from you all. So you all have a great day.